Okay, so I'm recording now. Okay, so we've done, like I said, we've done lists, data frames, matrices, and all of that, but then we've not understood the basics of these, and we are going to do that today. And then we're also going to be working with loops and functions. If you are familiar with any programming language, you would understand what I mean by loops and functions. Iteration over a particular script. That's loops and functions. Okay, I think Hubert has serious network issues. And then how to install R Hadoop. I hope we're able to do that today. So I wish someone else could admit people. Okay, so now we have computations, matrices, lists, and data frames. These are the major things that comprise R. And then matrices are data frames containing lists of homogeneous data in a tabular format. So basically, let me just use simple English. A matrix is a two-dimensional vector, a two-dimensional array. So a vector is a single-dimensional array, while a matrix is a two-dimensional array. So like I told you, when you have X and Y, that is when you have a matrix. A vector is probably just X or Y or A or something, a single line, which is a single dimension. So you have just X, right? But a matrix gives you something by something, X by Y. So when you have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, that is what is a matrix is called. So it's a kind of data frame that has homogeneous data. And the meaning of homogeneous data is data of one kind, data of one type. So you cannot have more than 2 types of data in a matrix. You have just one kind of data. You either have all numbers or you have all strings, and they are majorly integers, majorly numbers rather. So and they are very good when you want to perform arithmetic operations. So matrices are like data frames, but they contain only one kind of data. So let's quickly do something to show us matrices. So I'm going to be going back and forth into this, like I did last week. Okay, so let me open a new script. Okay, this was from last week. So let me save this as today is what? Today is 5th of August. So 05 August. Graduate training. Okay. Save. So let's set our working directory to okay, first let's get working directory. It's on Abisola, so we're going to set it to home /hd user. Sorry, I have kata, but it's not as bad as last week, so sorry if it's disturbing anyone. Graduate training. I mean, as Monday.
I hope you're on medication.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
worried because
actually.
it's been lasting for so long, and you know we're in an era of a pandemic, and I really care about you. Is everything okay?
Thank you very much. Okay, so it's complicated. Sorry, I'm bringing it into the class, but then since somebody asked, maybe other people are wondering, oh, this saying Abisola, she always asks kata 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 every time. Can't she just give us peace of mind? I just have to tell you, just in case anybody's angry about it. But I'm actually on medication. I tend to have kata when there's cold, and there's been cold for some time now. So it goes when the weather gets hotter. So towards afternoon, it actually subsides towards the afternoon. So it's in the morning that it's bad, and then in the afternoon it subsides. So it's from cold, inhaled cold. So it will definitely go. It's not a big deal, and I'm on medications. So it's because the cold is consistent. So thank you for asking, Hubert. For anyone who cares to know or who is asking indirectly, thank you for your concern. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm fine.
No problem.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let me come back. So I'm setting my working directory to graduate training, and then let me check it back. I have my working directory as graduate training now. So I want to create this matrix, and I'm going to create them from two vectors. So I have vectors x. Let me create vector x 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and vector y 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've created these two vectors.
Ma,
You want to say something? Okay.
yes,
Yes.
ma. Sorry, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
I want to ask, though I understand that, of course, we are doing this on the VMware, but if
Okay.
we were to do it on the normal R, which we can as well download on our, do we always have to set working directory, or is it because we are doing it on the VMware that we are always setting the working directory? I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, sometimes you want to save some objects, and then you want to save them into a particular folder. That's why we set the working directory here. If it were on your desktop, you would have to set your working directory if you want your object saved into a particular folder. So far, we've not actually specifically saved any object. You know, I remember I taught you how to save R data. So how to save R data, how to save R history, and how to save objects in R. So if you want to save objects and you want them saved to a particular folder, you set your working directory. But then if you are not planning to save any objects, you don't have to. You don't have to set your working directory. You can just continue working. It doesn't change anything. You can just save your code later. But then if I needed to save some specific object for use later, I would want to set my working directory so that any object I save will be saved into that particular folder, such that when I'm on that working directory a next time, I can just call the object and it sees the object. Because if you are not on the working directory and you call the object, it wouldn't see it. So it only sees object in the particular working directory at the time. So that's why.
Okay, ma. So is it the same method also? We just the way you are doing it, we just select the parts of the.
Yes, you
Okay,
select the
thank
path in Windows. You
you.
know Windows path. You
Yes,
see
ma.
dot dot. Yes, you select the path in Windows.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. So let me go back. So I want to create a matrix XY. So XY. So I'm going to use C bind. So I want to bind it by column. So I remember I taught you how to bind two vectors by column, C bind, and to bind by rows, R bind. So C bind of X comma Y. Okay, object. Oh, so I've not run these two vectors. So I'm going to run this, and then bind this. So what is XY? Let me see what XY is. So this is XY bounded by column. So you can see XY. And let's say if I wanted to bind this by row, I wanted to say bound, it's bind. If I wanted to bind this by row, I would do R bind. No, let me not assign it to this. I don't want it assigned to my XY. I need this XY for something. So let me just bind it by row. You see, it binds it this way. So you can do C bind or R bind, but then I want us to do C bind for the purpose of this class, which is this one. Did Emmanuel share last week's work with you via email? Hello?
No,
Not
I don't
yet, ma.
think.
Not yet.
Yes, ma.
So I actually sent it to him. Maybe it skipped his mind. So I'll remind him again. All the commands you did last week, this particular one, I told him to send everything to you. And the one we did the one time before that I saved, I told him to send everything. So he would send them. I actually forwarded them to him. Maybe it skipped his mind. Let me see that I'm not on mute. Okay, I'm not on mute. Okay, so he's going to send it. So that's cbind. So I've bounded the vectors English. I've bounded the vectors, and then let me give them names. So if I already have my column names as X and Y, from XY. I already have my column names as X and Y. So I don't have to give them names anymore. But I can just check that what are the column names for matrix XY. What are the column names for matrix XY? I can see that it's X and Y. But let me see, what are the row names for XY? No. So my row names, I don't have any row names, okay? So I want to create row names. So something I can do to create row names is this. This is a faster way to give your row names letters if you needed to use letters. So capital letters 1 to 5. I want A to E. So each object letters, this object letters has it contains all uppercase letters of the English alphabet. So it's a 26 character vector, right? So letters A to Z have assigned vectors 1 through 26, vector 1 through 26. So if I do 1 to 5, I'll be having A to E. So you can quickly use this to assign names to your vectors and so on, or to your matrices and so on. So I'm assigning this to matrix XY, so letters 1 to 5. So let me see row names of XY now. Let me rerun this line. I have A to E. And let me now rerun XY. So you see that it's been assigned to matrix XY. So you see, and I have A to E and XY. So this is a matrix that I just created. And hope we understand how I run this script. I use Control and Enter. I don't know if everybody knows, but if you all know, then that's fine. So whatever line your cursor is on, it runs the script on that particular line. And if I want to run these three at the same time, I have to highlight it and do Control Enter. Or you highlight and come to run. I don't like moving cursors around. I like using shortcuts. So as you can see, Control plus Enter. So that's about assigning row names. So very quickly, let me see. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, so I've thought of that.
Sorry, ma.
Yes, question. Okay.
Yeah. Please, can you go to your line of codes in there?
Okay.
So for the line of codes on the one on line 11, if you indicated something like row names XY equals letters, like letters in small letters, not in block letters.
I know it as using capitals. Let's try. I'm not sure. Constant business. So okay, so it's going to work. Oh, you know what? Let me drop this first.
I just wanted to know if it was case sensitive. That's all.
Yeah. I think it will work. Actually, I know it as using capitals, but then I think it should work too. But then I want to be sure that it's one working. So it's going to assign these small letters. So the small letters give you small, capital letters give you capital. Is that clear?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
okay?
Yeah, it is. Thank you very much.
So let's use the capitals back. And yes, here. So capitals, capital letters, small letters. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, so we have our matrix XY now. So let me go to the next slide. Oh God, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Okay, so lists. Lists are used to store collections of objects of different lengths and types. So, and you construct lists using the list function. So the list function is useful for helping you construct lists. So, a list is, okay, they're talking about the list that was created here. So let's quickly do something on lists. So let me quickly do something on list here. So So this was about matrices. Comment, that's what you use for commenting. So you use a hashtag when you want to comment. So let's do something on lists. So I want to create some lists. Okay, so let me start with creating this. It's creating some vectors first. So I'll create some vectors first. Then I'm going to put them into a list. So vector this A1 A2 B1 B2 E2 E1 and E2. So sites, let me create for, let me do temperature. Or maybe let me just make it simple. Let me just make it simple. 36.1, 30.6, 31.0, 36.3, and 39.9. So lists don't necessarily have to have all vectors equal in length. So you can see this one is, I have the first one site as 10, temperature as 5, and then let me do shade. Most of these things are in your manual. Shade. Let me just do a repetition. No. And then full. Okay, so here. Am I okay? So let me run these. Okay, and then I want to assign all of this to experiments. So experiment, I'm going to assign all of this to experiments. So experiment is the list I'm going to create. So when you want to create a list, I told you use the list function, right? So I want list size to be equal to sites. I have site here, so I want it to be called sites. Okay, I want it to be called site. Or let me use capital letters so you understand what I'm saying. The name will be capital site, but I already have vector site. So vector site is assigned to capital SITE. Coordinates. Coordinates will be, so now I want to assign something to coordinates and I want you to pay attention. I want to use the paste function. So the paste function is going to, what paste function does is, the first argument paste function takes in, it's going to be your vector, while the second argument will be your separation value, or separation, whether you want to separate by your separator, whether you want to separate by space or by comma. So for example, if I did paste X and Y, I would say I want it to separate by, so don't worry, from the result, you understand my explanation. I want to separate it by a comma. Okay, I want it to separate X and Y by a comma. This is what, so it's going to do that in my result. So let's wait for the result. Let me continue typing first, then we'll come to the result and we'll see it. So temperature, I want it to name its temperature. And then I'm going to assign vector temperature to this. So TEMP, vector TEMP, and shade. I'm going to assign vector shade to it. Okay, so let me minimize this. Okay, so here, so this is experiment, list experiment. And then let me see what experiment gives me. So this is what experiment gives me. So let me scroll and explain myself. Coordinates. Okay, X and Y. So let me come back. X. Oh, so X plus Y. Okay, okay. So X plus Y, X comma Y. Let me run this. I'll explain. Then here. Okay. All right. So now let me come back. Let me come back to this. So when we had X, Y, what did we have? We had 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 9, 5, 10. Now I said paste should give me, let me now go to the paste function, because I'm sure this paste function is probably the part I need to explain. X, comma, Y, separated by a comma. So 1, comma 6, 2, comma 7, 3, comma 8, and so on. And that is what I have in my results. 1, comma 6, 2, comma 7, 3, comma 8, and so on. So that's what the paste function does. And then we can see that lists generated different lists, and it did not mind the fact that they were of different lengths. It just generated my lists for me. So that's what a list, this is what a list looks like. So you can create a list of several objects. So these are some of the objects I created, and this is the list of all of them. So if I wanted to extract say temperature only, I would use the $sign. I remember teaching us the $sign, and I used to extract temperature. So I could take temperature only. This is temperature. I could decide that I want only the first value in temperature, or yeah, the first value. So 1, temperature 1. So it's going to give me just the first value in temperature. Here, I'm going to ask questions. Any questions, please, before I move on? Any questions?
But can you explain? Can you go over it? I don't understand. I really do not get the experiment from that shade.
What don't you get there? Like,
I don't
explain. Tell me.
understand the coordinates
You don't understand
from
what?
coordinates, the X and Y.
Okay,
What's
you
the
don't
meaning of
understand
S?
the meaning of paste, this paste function. Is that it?
Yes,
You understand
yes,
everything else, just this paste function. Is that what you're saying?
yes. At least I still understand the other ones. Yes, if you
You
can explain
understand
that one.
shade? You understand shade? Do
I
you?
mentioned shade, but I feel if I get this experiment, probably I'll be able to relate it to shade. I really don't get what you
Shade.
said in shade.
Okay. So let me do it like this. Let me do it like this. So I created 3 lists. Three vectors. You know how to create vectors, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is vector site, this is vector temperature, and this is vector shade. Now, I remember I told you people some time ago about creating repeated values. So if you have repeated values, I don't want to write C, no, 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 full, full, full. So say I wanted to write no 200 times. I would not have to write no 200 times. I can just put no, comma 200. So it repeats no thrice and full thrice too. So now I have this, and then I now want to put them into a list. Okay, so I have all these vectors, but I want everything in a list format. I want everything into my experiment list. So I would use the list function. I will input site, and I said I want it to be called capital SITE. I imputed temperature here. I'll skip this first. I'm coming. Temperature TMP. I want it to be called temperature, and then shade. I want it to be called shade, capital shade. Now coordinates. I want it to also impute coordinates into my list, into my experiment list. But then I want coordinates x and y. You know, coordinates is just like longitude, comma latitude, that kind of thing. So I don't want to have x separately and y separately. I want it in a combined format, separated by a comma. So SCP is your separator. If you wanted just a space, you will remove the comma here and just leave a space here. So put x, put y, but separate them by a comma. Now I showed you what x and y is from before. This is x and y. So if I say paste x and y, it's going to paste first value of x, first value of y, second value of x, second value of y. So 1,6, 2,7, 3,8, 4,9, and 5,10. So if you come to experiments, you would see the coordinates as written here. Do you understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Wait,
So if I wanted, okay, yes.
can you say, you can say what you wanted to say before I ask?
Okay, so if I wanted to get just a particular vector out of my experiment list, I have vector site, coordinates, temperature, shade, and so on. So I'll do experiment. This dollar sign helps you refer to a particular object in your list or a particular object in your data frame or your matrix. So experiment dollar sign, I want you to give me all temperature values. So it's going to give me all temperature values as shown here. These are all temperature values. And if I want to give you only the first value in temperature, square bracket 1, so it gives me just the first value. So yes, your question, please.
Yeah, I just want to ask: is the experiment object, is it a two-dimensional object or just one dimension?
Lists
Yes.
lists give you different vectors. Okay, so it is just one dimensional vector is one dimensional, so it is just vectors, a lot of vectors in a particular list. So it is not I would say it is one dimensional because you just have different vectors, but then they are all one dimensional. Of course, vectors are one dimensional, so it is not two dimensional. It is not a matrix. A matrix is two dimensional. So you don't have x comma y. You only have one. You can see I only to take out a value, I only needed to use one value. So I don't need to use x comma y. I only need one x to take out a value. So it's one dimensional. So you just refer to the particular vector you need in your list. So matrix is two dimensional, vectors are one dimensional. A list is a combination of several one dimensional objects.
Okay, so why doesn't it just print like maybe um the when you want to do the list, now when you call the list in the console, why doesn't it just print them on one line?
It can't print everything on one line. They are different vectors. Or what do you mean? They are
Okay, so
different.
does that mean can you create a list the same way you created a vector, like just like site? Can you just do lists and write? Does it also work the same way?
Of course, you can do that if that's what you want to do. So, if you want just one vector in your list, which I don't think is very applicable, if you need just one vector, you don't need to create a list for it, right? You create a list when you want several vectors. So,
Okay, no
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, so this is its site. So it's like you're saying experiment one and experiment one dollar site is still the same thing. So it's not really applicable. It's when you have several vectors and you want them put into a list that you actually do this. So I think this is not really applicable. Any other question? Or are you clear?
Yeah, I'll just do some work on my own, so you
What is
can
the
go on.
question exactly? Okay, I don't understand your question, right?
No, I get what you're saying. I'm just wondering why it does not present everything on a straight line. But you said okay, there are different vectors. That's why I
How
cannot
do you really want it presented on a straight line? What is your reason for creating um a list in the first place? Like you, if you have so a vector is just one dimensional, okay? So you can't create a vector that has different kinds of elements in it. So if you wanted, for example, if you wanted all this on a straight line, that means you are saying that you want this site combined with this, which wouldn't work because your vectors have to be one dimensional. They have to have one kind of object in them. So this has strings only. This has what am I saying now? This has numeric values only. So you can't have all of them on one line. It's not applicable unless there's something else you're trying to achieve. And I don't know if you wanted a data frame, you create a table. If you wanted a table, you use a data frame. If you wanted a matrix, it's different. But putting all of them on a particular line would not be applicable in any sense.
Okay.
You can try what you're saying out and let me know. I don't know. Or does anybody understand the question?
Can you just try a few experiments that
Can I do what?
maybe use the view function on the experiment, so I'll see what kind of, because I don't know, my VM something like
Please, who is talking? Why am I going to mute? Who is talking? I want to be.
is Ebube talking? The one asking.
Everybody's talking. Okay, Henry, please hold on. Okay, let me just mute him. Yes, Ebube, yes, you said what, please?
So I said, can you just run the view function on the experiment? I want to see this, how exactly the experiment structure is. That's
Error. So, view cannot show in form of a table. Experiments will not show in form of a table because it is not a data frame. It is just a list of numbers. A list of vectors. Like we just have several vectors in one.
okay.
Something. It is not like you can't. Lists are not matrices, and lists are not data frames. Lists are combination of several vectors. They store a collection of objects. That is what a list does. A list stores a collection of objects. Site.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to understand the difference between tables and the difference between tables and lists, or data frames and lists. So this is sites. Okay, sites would give you a column because it's a vector. You know, data frames are a combination of several vectors. So it give you this. Sorry about this. I didn't name it properly. That's why it's coming up like this. So I didn't assign it to any object. So it used this as the column header. So sites would give you something, but lists are just combination of different vectors. So they are not tables and they are not matrices. So it would give you an error. I hope you understand that. Let's move on. I think we've spent so much time.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So let's move on. So that's about lists. So data frames are like data sets. And of course, when you use the view function of data frames, to definitely work because data frames are like a rectangular matrix. They are also like matrices. But in data frames, in data frame sense, you can have different kinds of objects in your data frame. Your data frame is not a matrix that has only one kind of object. Okay, so a matrix looks like this. You can do matrix 1 to 9 and say I want number of rows to be 4 or number of rows to be 3. That's more reasonable. So you can have a matrix like this. Okay. Use argument n row is equals to 3. N row, there's no s. No n. Okay, so it's arranging its column wise 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So this is what a matrix looks like. You cannot have more than one kind of data type in a matrix, but for a data frame you can have different kinds of data types. So a data frame is more flexible. It is very well used in data sets, like your data set in Excel and so on, where you have different kinds of data sets for different columns. So that's for data frames. And I think I've taught you how to create data frames. I taught you how to create data frames. So now let's check. Let's check. Okay, column names XY. When you want to view the name of a column, I explained that to us already. So we want to talk about indexing vectors. So there are four kinds of vectors indexing. You can have vector of positive integers, negative integers, character strings, and logical values, which I'm going to demonstrate very fast. So I'm going to demonstrate it from, okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this for us now. So indexing vectors. So let's index vector. So let me see temperature. Let me see what temperature looks like. Temperature, object temperature, TEMP. Okay, this is just the name of temperature in this particular list. So it's not going to give me what I want. So it's TEMP that is actually my object. So TEMP. So this is TEMP. Okay. So let me do some indexing on TEMP. So so let me do some indexing on TAMP. So the first one is vector of positive integers. So I want to index TAMP. I want you to give me only the second value. Here you go. So you have second value, which is 30.6. I want you to give me the second to the fourth value. So 2 to 4. So for vectors, you can only use one indexing because vectors are one-dimensional. When you come to matrices, you'll be seeing something, comma, something. That's because a matrix is two-dimensional. But for vectors, it's just one-dimensional. So you only have one argument passed. So 2 to 4 is just one argument. But when you have 2 to 4, comma, then that is when you are beginning to have a second argument. So temperature 2 to 4, 30.6 to 36.3. So that is still under positive indexing. I could also select some specific values for indexing. I could say I want first one, second one, and fifth one. So it's going to give me the first one, the second one, and the fifth one. So that is for positive integers. Now for indexing for negative integers. For indexing for negative integers, you are selecting all except what you put in. So TEMP say -3. I want it, that means this is telling me that I want you to give me everything except the third value in my temperature vector. So I want to give me everything except third element. So it's going to give me everything and omit the third element, which is 31.0. So that is negative indexing. So I could also do vector of character strings. So I could say, I want you to give me, let me see something that has a name. I'm trying to get a name. Okay. So let me quickly, I want to get something with a name. Okay, so let me quickly do something. Let me quickly do something with this vector. So I'll be able to explain. Okay. Okay. So I assigned names Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 to TMP. So I have this now. So I want to teach us, I want to show us vector of character strings. So if I wanted to index by the name, I could do Q3. So what is Q3? I want to give me Q3. So this is very useful when you have a huge number of elements in your vector, and then you know the name of the vector you are trying to bring out, you just input the name of the vector, the name of the element you're trying to bring out. So you just input the name of the element and it gives you the element. So you could also do it by saying you want more than one value. So I want Q5 and I want Q4 and Q5 and Q5. So here you have Q4 and Q5. So I'll ask questions. Let me just do the fourth example. So the fourth one is vector of logical values. So I want so for vector of logical values, you can say you want TEMP. So let me show us so let me bring experiment up again. Experiment. Let me just use, okay, I'm indexing vectors, okay? So let me just do TEMP. I want you to index TEMP for me where TEMP is greater than, let me use 36. Where TEMP is greater than 36. So it's going to give me only where TEMP is greater than 36, which is Q1, Q4, and Q5. So here you have it, where TMP is greater than 36. I also want it to give me where TMP, where TMP is, let me say, greater than 36, or let me use greater than 31, and shade. So I have shade here, right? Let me come here. I have shade here. Shade, I have shade no and full. So, and shade equal to no. So I can subset it by, I can subset my vector by 2 objects, even when the object is not exactly what is here. So I can subset, as long as my object is named, I can subset my vector, any vector I have, by the objects I have in my workspace at a particular time, and when shade is no. So it's telling me longer object length is not a multiple of shorter length. Okay, so let me see. Temperature is greater than 1 and shade is no. Okay, that gave me an error. Let me see something. Okay. So it's giving me an answer, but it's telling me this error. So I'm trying to explain the error. But before that, let me just quickly explain. So I'm telling you to give me where temperature is greater than 31 and shade is equal to no. So look at when temperature is greater than 31, first of all. Where temperature is greater than 31, we have Q1, Q4, and Q5. Okay, so Q1, Q4, and Q5. Now, and shade is no. So let me come here. So for shade, we have, or let me just run shade so that you see it. Let me just run shade, SHADE. So we have this. That's 6, okay? But then if we were to match them to one another, this would go with the first value here. This would go with the second value. This would go with the third value. This would go with the fourth value. This would go with the fifth value. Then we have no value for the last one, okay? So I've said that for the ones that are greater than 31, we have Q1, Q4, and Q5. But then Q4 and Q5 match with when shade is full. So it will definitely give me just Q1 that shows me when shade is low. So that's why I have my value here for the first one as 36.1. Now let me explain the second one. I said when temperature is less than 31. So when temperature is less than 31, I have only Q2, which is 30.6. And then where shade is no, of course, Q2 is would match to no. So that's why I have 30.6. Now it's telling me that The error is telling me is that shade is longer than temperature, which you should know because it's an error. It has to tell you this. It's giving us an answer, but it's explaining to you that shade is less than temperature. So that means there is one value that is not assigned to something here. So it's just giving you that information, but that doesn't affect the answer that you get. So please ask questions. So I'll know whether I need to re-explain this one. Ask questions, please. Before we move to indexing matrices.
Ma, please explain that line 42 again. The code on line 43, sorry, not 42, 43,
Okay.
44.
Okay.
Oh, 45 now.
Yes, 45 now. Yeah, I got you. So let me put this back because I did greater than first. Okay. So now let me do what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring shade down here so that you would see it properly. Copy. Okay. So I have this as temperature, right? And then I have this as shade. Now let me run temperature. You have this. Oh, no, this is what I want to run. I want to run just this value. This. And let me run shade. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
this is temperature and this is shade. Yes? Okay.
okay, concerning the error. Okay,
Yes.
now for we substituted data. Temperature actually has more than the values we are getting. Temperature actually has more than one value that is actually greater than 31. Really?
No.
Yes, but you only got
Yeah,
one
it has
out.
3. It brought 1
Yes.
because I also put another condition where shade is no.
Okay. I get it now. Thank you.
Yes. So I have temperature and I have shade, okay? So now I'm saying that I want you to give me temperature, the value of temperature, where temperature is greater than 31 and shade is equal to no. Now, for temperature greater than 31, let's do that first. Give me the value of temperature where temperature is greater than 31. So I'm going to break it down so you understand what I'm saying. So here. Now this is when temperature is greater than 31. Let me increase this, please. Okay. So here, give me when temperature is greater than 31. You can see what I have, 36.1, 36.3, 39.9, which is Q1, Q4, and Q5. Now, adding a condition of when shade is no. Now, if you match these, you can see that Q1 would match to the first element in shade. Q2 would match to the second element in shade. Q3 will match to the third element in shade. Q4 will match to the fourth element in shade. Q5 will match to the fifth element. And there is no Q6 to match to this. That's why you have this in red, telling you that longer object length is not a multiple of shorter object length. So there is one object here that is longer than another object here. So that is what it's trying to tell us. That's what this error is trying to tell us. Now, adding a condition of where shade is no. Now, Q1, Q4, Q5. Q4 and Q5 match to full. So we want just when it is no, which gives us Q1 alone. And when I run this, I'll have just Q1. Are we clear now? Who asked the question?
Yeah, I did. I understand now. I understand. At least give us an output even after
Even after giving us the warning, but it will still give you an output. It's just trying to explain to you or let you know, let you get aware that there is one that doesn't match with one.
Okay,
So,
sorry. Even we did the previous example. I think in the earlier codes or something, and I wanted to relate it to this temp as well. This temperature values. So assuming we're working with big statistical data that's really enormous, say about 100 temperatures, and want to assign say names to each of these temperatures so we could do some analysis on them. So it's like we can do so it's going to give us our output as say Okay, even if we are not using Q1, Q2, Q3, let's say we are assigning it to A, B, C, D. Is there like a short code we can use to assign big and enormous data to vectors?
Do short code to assign data to
Like,
vectors.
yes, like you know, we used row names to
Yes, yes.
assign temp exactly. So can we assign, since we're the letters from A to Z as like 26? Is it going to go further than that or something? Since we are dealing with big data.
Yeah, it's going to repeat it. It's going to start repeating from A again. But I don't think you want that, right? I think for big data, you should just use numbers. You should use numbering, 1 to whatever. That should be your.
If
You
we're
should use
using,
that
what
for
if we're using numbering now? We are using the numbers to number numbers. I don't know if you understand. Like one and this, the what we are numbering is, I don't know, they are numbers as well, statistics, just like these temperatures as well. Don't you think it's going to be sort of confusing as well? Like in the case where we want to use alphabets to match numbers, so it doesn't confuse us in any way. Just like we matched Q1 to 36, Q2 to
Mhm.
30.6.
So, okay, so you're asking that what?
Like after it gets to Z, is it going to continue with A B, something like that, or
Yeah, it would continue matching them over again because we only have 26 letters in the alphabet. It's going to continue matching them again, which is not advisable.
okay?
So you,
All right,
yeah, so it's
it's
going to
better we
continue,
use
it's
numbers.
going to match them over again, yes. So it's better you use numbers for that. It's going to match them over again.
All right, thank you.
Yes. So that is about that. I think it's better to use numbers for that. Or let me see. Mm, okay. It's better to use numbers for that. So because you cannot have it's definitely going to start all over again. It's definitely going to start all over again. So yes. So let's go back to um the slides. Okay, we've done vectors, all these vector types. Okay. Okay. Then I don't know if I explained coming. Please give me a minute. I want to see. Okay, indexing matrices. Have we done indexing matrices? No, we've not done indexing matrices. So did I skip that? Okay, I skipped it. Okay, so indexing matrices. So we have X and Y. We have X and Y. And then we want to index this. So let me come here. So this is X, Y. About your question, Hubert, I would give an answer to that. I'll give an answer to that. There's another thing you can do, but I don't want that to take our time now. There's another thing you can do. You can make it say A1, B1, C1 up to Z1, then start with another A2, B2, C2 up to Z2, and so on till eternity, or to wherever it stops. So that's another thing you can do if you really want to use letters and you want them to be in a sequential order. So you can use A1 to Z1, A2 to Z2, and it keeps just iterating over numbers, but with specific letters. So that's going to use like a loop, which I would do, but I will not want to do that now because that's going to take some of our time. We're going to be writing a loop function for that, or a paste function, either a paste or a loop function. But I'll be trying it here, and I don't want to try it here because trying it here will waste time. So I'll prefer to try that, then explain it to us later. So you can also do that. So you have A1 to Z1, A2 to Z2, and up and up and up to name all of your data. if you want to do that. So that's another thing you can do. Sorry, I was just thinking about it, thinking aloud. So you can use paste or a for loop function. Any one of that would do the job. But I'm going to do that. But not now. So indexing matrices. So let's do X, Y. Okay, for loop. We're going to do for loop 2 today. So you see what for loop does. So I want to index X, Y. So let me see what X, Y looks like. This is what X, Y looks like. So let me bring this back up. So X, Y, and I want to index X, Y. So now it's two-dimensional. So I'll be having X axis and Y axis. So what would be my X? Say I want to get this value 8. So I'm going to do, this is row 3, column 2. So 3, 2. That would give me 8. So that is indexing. I could also do the same thing, but use the name of the vector. So I could do C, Y. So C, Y is also going to give me 8. So that is using character vectors. I could also do, I want you to give me everything in row 2, but yes, everything in just row 2. So I can say XY, give me everything in row, okay, give me everything in row 2. So I'm going to do row 2, no column. Okay, so it's going to give me everything in row 2. So everything in row 2, which is 2 and 7. So that is it. And I can also say give me everything in column 1. So I'm going to do nothing, 1, because I want you to give me everything in column 1. Capital XY. R, so case sensitive for my liking. So yes, everything in column 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's everything in column 1. So I can also do another kind of indexing, and so let me check what the value of X is. So this is the value of, this is X, right? So I want to do an indexing on XY, but I would use object X in my indexing. I told you can use objects in your indexing. So I want you to index XY for me, but inside this XY indexing, I want you to index, okay, so let me do one after the other, so that I will not be confused. XY, give me only column X in XY. Okay, I've explained this to us. Give me only column X in XY. So it's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now I want to give me where this is greater than 3 only. So I'm adding a greater than 3 sign. Let me put it in steps. Let me not do everything at once. So let me bring this here. This is everything in column X. Now give me only where column X is greater than 3. So it's going to give me false, 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 true, true. So it's telling me that the ones greater than 3 here are D and E. As you can see, D and E. So it's telling me that others are false, but these two are true. Okay, so that's what it's telling me. It's giving me a logical value. Now, I don't want you to just give me a logical value. I want you to give me the actual values. So I'm going to tell me, give me XY, and I'm going to bring everything here, and put it into this square brackets. So put it here. So it's going to give me the values. 4, 5. Oh, I'm making a mistake here. So XY, 4, 5, 9, and 10. 4, 5. Let me come back to XY. Okay, it's also giving me values in Y, which shouldn't be. So X, Y column. It's not supposed to give me values in Y. Okay. So I actually want to give me just 4 and 5. Greater than 3 here. Yes, then that's fine. Okay. So there's a comma here. Okay. X, Y. Okay. I want you to give me just 4, 5. So
Sorry, comma before X.
okay. Yes. Any comments?
Comma before the X in the square bracket. Like, why not just
Row
select?
and column. Thank you. Thank you. This is where my error is.
No. Like, if you have just X in the bracket, is it going to like just X in the bracket?
Okay. Okay. You know what? Let me get back to you on this. I think I'm making a mistake somewhere here.
Sorry, what are we trying to subset again? Just to be
So we
sure.
want to subset. Okay. So here we have only X, right? X is the column. We only need X as a column here. But now I want where X is greater than 3, which is D and E, 4 and 5. So now I want it to give me the values, not just these logical values. So I have these as the values. So I have it giving me this. So there should be a comma here. So I'll get back to us on this. I'm not getting it at the moment. Let me get back to
Okay,
us.
but the way I ran mine, I did X, Y, then since we want to get
The
first we want
values,
to get
just the values. Yes, the values
just the
alone.
values, not we don't want the column and this thing to be in it. I got the values, but
Tell me what you did.
okay, I got the values X, Y, D, E, then 4 and 4, 9, 5, 10 in a data frame format. Or
Yeah, you're not supposed to, like, I'm trying to not get this 9 and 10. I don't want to get this 9 and 10. So, okay.
okay, so just want to get 4 and 5 alone.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here you have it. So now, like I explained, you do this, you get only values in X, right? X is the column, okay? So we want only column X. Now, then you do this, you get a logical expression. So the logical expression tells you D and E is true while the others are false. Now, this logical expression that you have here, you're going to bring it into subsetting XY, and you're going to have a row by column in your subsetting. You have a row by a column. So this will now be your new row, this particular one, and then you're subsetting by X, column X. So this is going to pick out only the values in X. This is going to bring out only the values in column X. That's what this X is doing here. So it's only going to give you D and E, which are the values in column X. And then you have your logical expression here. This is your row now. Now this is your column, but we want only column X. So using it as a subset to XY will bring out only values. So that's why I had to bring this back and put it into XY. But I also had to indicate that while you are doing this, I want you to give me only the values in X. So here you have just 4 and 5, which is D and E. I know it's a bit complicated, but I was just trying to show us that we can bring out just some particular values instead of bringing out everything. So you also saw when I was trying to do this, when I removed the X from here, and it brought out all columns. So you don't put anything here, it brings out all the columns. You indicate a particular column here, it brings out just the column you need. So if I put Y here, it will bring out the Y column. If I put X here, it will bring out the X column. But it's still going to consider your true statement, which is
So
this.
does that mean the initial comma X that we used is like not functioning or what?
Which initial one? You mean this one?
Yes.
So this one, like I showed you, brought
In
out
the,
just
the
the
full
values.
one, the full one now that we are getting 4 and 5. Line 59.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
does that mean the initial comma X before greater than 3 is
Okay,
not
this.
functioning?
It's
If we
functioning. That's why I ran this first for you. This one, look at this. This is exactly what was here before. So it is what is here that is here. Okay, it is what is here that is here. Okay, let me show us X again. Or let me show us XY. XY. So 1 to 5, 6 to 10. Now this particular function checks, okay, this particular function comes here and you are saying you want column X. So it looks at column X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now she's asking me to give her only the values that are greater than 3 for column X. So it's going to come to column X and give me only the values that are greater than 3, which is 4 and 5. But then it's subsetting XY based on a condition. So it is going to subset, okay, it has checked values that are greater than 3 here, but it's going to subset for everything. Okay, it's going to subset for everything. So whatever it is here is also going to attach the values for Y to the values for X. So that is why I had to subset again by X to tell it, okay, yes, I know you checked for values of X that are greater than 3, and you still added the Y version of it to it. Now I want you to give me only the X version. So that's why I had to subset by X again. So when you're doing this subsetting, it subsets based on X values, but gives you the whole thing, the whole matrix based on your subset for X values. So it subsets based on X values, but gives you the whole matrix based on this subsetting. So it gives me 4, 5, okay, then it adds 9, 10, and whatever else you have in front of it. But then I now have to subset this matrix to what exactly I want. So this is only a condition. This is only a conditional statement, and a conditional statement gives you true or false. So it gave me true that, okay, yes, I had values that are greater than 3 here, but it gives you the whole matrix as an answer. Now, giving you the whole matrix as an answer here, you have to subset again by X or by Y or by Z or by whatever you have to give you just the values for X here. So that's it. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
It's long, it looks complicated, but take it one step after the other and you'll be able to understand it better. So that's about subsetting based on the condition and getting values again for a particular column after subsetting. So, and someone is trying to come in. Let me see. Oh, 2 people actually. Okay. So that's from indexing matrices. And I want us quickly go into programming in R. So we are going to do programming in R, which is using, you all know this, assigning values to expressions. So you're going to be using the for loop and so on and so forth. So you can also run commands like this. You can also run commands like this. You can also do A is 2, separate it by a semicolon. So you can run commands as grouped expressions. B is 3, and then AB is you can say AB is A multiplied by B. You can run commands like this. Unexpected comma, semicolon. Okay, so So it runs your command, okay? And then you can say what is AB, and then it gives you your answer. So you can run commands on a single line. It's called grouped expressions, but you separate them by a semicolon. For this particular one, I know some of you might still be looking at it, but please, you can go back to it and just try it out. Try removing some things and see what it gives you. You can change this to Y and see what it gives you. The one thing about programming is you have to keep trying different things to be able to see, okay, where is the change coming from? What is happening? Oh, okay, it was this thing I put here that gave me this, and so on and so forth. That is the way you can understand programming. If you just say you want to understand just this that I've done, and not go back and try to say, let me make this Y, or let me not put anything, or let me make this X, and so on and so forth, you would probably never understand it. So you have to go back and try stuff out to be able to understand this better. So that's about grouped expressions for yes, grouped expression. So let's come to using if and if else statements. So if and if else statement is a conditional statement, and then the format is like this: if condition, true task, else false task. So you can do only for one task. I can also do for two tasks. You can do for two tasks too. So if condition, you can also use if else condition, true, false. You can either use this or this. It gives you the same thing. So those are the conditional statements. So we have loops used in R, the for loop and the while loop. And then the for loop uses this for counter in sequence task. While loop, then while loop too similar. So let me quickly do something on if else statements. Let me quickly do something on if else statements. If I put something down that it would do for if else statements. Okay, so let me come to, okay, let's come to here. Okay, so let me assign temperature to new object. So let me use a variable named new object and assign temperature to it, which is the temperature that I've been using since. So I'm now saying that if temperature is a vector, so if I want to check for something, you want to check whether something is a matrix or a vector or something, use is dot whatever it is you're checking for. So I'm saying if temperature, if this new object is obviously temperature, I assign temperature to new object. So if new object is a vector, okay, give me the mean of new objects. Else give me something else, maybe sum of new objects. So let's see this. Some new objects. Let me run this. Unexpected else. Okay.
I think it's supposed to be in the same line.
No, it doesn't have to.
Maybe?
It doesn't have to. Okay. Oh, so I understand this. If you are running in the console, okay, yeah, that's true. If you're running in the console, you can do it like that, because to prompt you to put in another statement. Okay, thank you. So just in case you are running in the console, let me do this.
Is there no command to notify that, okay, is a new line, like there's something, wants to input
Yes,
something
there
for a new
is.
line?
Yes, there is. When you put the
Python,
enter
no,
statement.
backward slash should go.
What did you say?
I said, I think if it was Python now, I need if you put backward slash, if you put
So
backward slash,
it's
that's the next line.
so oh, okay, backward slash, yeah, backward slash n is the next line, but you don't need to use that here. You don't need to use that in in the if statement. You don't need to put it on the next line in the if statement. But I'm just trying to show you that when you are writing a command and you are not done, exactly, this is what I'm trying to bring out, and you're not done writing the command, there's this plus prompt that comes up. This plus shows you that you're not done writing your command. So when you're writing the console and your command is not completed yet, it gives you this plus sign. Then you can input the rest of it. But that's by the way. So yes, put it on the same line. Putting it on different lines in the source. That's why I don't really like working on the source. Putting it on
That was what I was
different
trying
lines.
to say. Sorry to cut you short, but that's what I was trying to say that normally if you're running a data frame or something, it normally shows that okay, yes, the document is not complete even in the source.
Yeah. Oh,
So
even
I
in the
was saying that
source.
yes, even in the source, if you are if
Okay.
you want to run a data frame a data frame now, it's supposed to indicate that it should bring out the plus sign automatically. So I don't know why it's not if it was in
Bringing it out
Python,
now.
there's a yes, if it was in Python, there was a comma, there's a if you could just put backward slash after a line, it tell Python that okay, yes, I'm not done yet. The remaining statement is still continuing on the next line after. So that's what I'm saying that is there a command like that? Maybe a command that's in R to use.
To append. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to check that out. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. But I have to check that. Okay. I have to check that to tell R that you're not done with your command, right? I understand. I have to check that out. But for now, let's work with this. So what this statement is telling us is that if new object is a vector, okay, find the mean of new object. Okay, please give me a minute. Let me just. Okay, so yes, so if new object is a vector, give me the mean, else give me the sum. So see new objects, or let's see temperature, whichever way. So this is temperature. Okay, if it's a vector, give me the mean. So of course, it gave us the mean. Now let me see. Let me try something. So now, if it's a matrix, give me the mean, else give me the sum. So it wouldn't give you the mean here. This is because new object is not a matrix. So now, the other thing you put, whatever you put after your else statement, tells you that, okay, since it is not fulfilling this, then it's going to fulfill this other condition. So that is what if statement does. It gives you another condition if the first condition is not fulfilled. So here now, if it's a matrix, give me the mean. So it could not give us the mean because new object is not a matrix. And we all know new object is temperature. So TAMP is not a matrix. If you wanted to check this, you would see, okay, numeric. Yes, it's numeric. I want to see. I'm trying to get, I want to check the structure or something. Okay, so I want you to show me the kind of, I want you to show me that it's a vector. Okay, numeric, you're just telling me it's numeric. Okay, class should show me that. Class matrix. So maybe vector doesn't actually show vector. Okay. So okay, whichever way. So we know temperature is a vector, and then as indicated here, you can see that when we created temperature, we created it as a vector, right? So it is not a matrix. That is why we cannot get the mean. So it is going to give us the sum instead, which is what it did here. So that's about if statement. If gives you conditions, different conditions, and then when it sees that the first condition is not fulfilled, it won't give you the answer based on the first condition. It checks what is the condition in the else statement. So you could also use if else, and instead of using if, you could also use if else. If else to will give you the same thing, and so on. But let's just move quickly. Our time is fast spent. So let's go to for loop. Okay, you can see the if else statement here. You can use the if else condition here, true, false. It also works the same way. So you just put the true and the false statement there. So we have different types of loops. We have the for loop and the while loop. So for the for loop, you can, let me just run this simple statement for the for loop. So for loop. So for loops helps you loop iteratively over a vector of integers, like a counter. So you have something counting, and then it loops over that counter until it completes its iteration. So that's what for loop does. And then, okay, let me just show you an example here. So if I do for I in 1 to 6, print I. Let me put some space in here. Print I. So it loops over I till it finishes it. So it starts with when I is 1, it prints it. It comes back when I is 2, it prints it. Comes back when I is 3, it prints it. Comes back when I is 4, and so on up to when I is 6, which is the last value here, then it prints it. So that's what for does. For helps you loop over a vector of integers like a counter. So that's what for loop does. And then I could also, so let me quickly show us how we can use a for loop. So if I had, let me just do a simple example of it. So for A in 1 to 15, A equal to A plus 1, print A. Oh, sorry. For A. Okay, let me just put it into plus 1, and I have to put it in the curly brackets. Okay, I could also use the equal to sign. It will still work. And then A equal to A plus 1. Okay, so there's an error. Okay. All right, so this is generating an error for me. And just put it into the print statement then. So I'm supposed to be able, I want to be able to put the expression without putting it directly into the print statement. That's what I'm trying to do.
Sorry,
Does someone want to say something?
excuse me.
Okay.
I think the range you've already specified already runs the increment now.
Yeah,
So
it runs the increment.
so you are still trying to do the increment again.
I'm trying to create an expression, to evaluate an expression based on these increments that I have. You know, I have A 1 to 15, and I'm trying to evaluate an expression based on this.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes. Trying to evaluate an expression based on this. So, okay, let me say I just want to give a simple exactly. Okay, so
That's
I've gotten
exactly
what
what
I
I
need.
did. But
Yes, I've gotten
yeah,
what I need
sure.
now.
That,
So let's
that's
do,
exactly what I, ma'am.
yeah?
Yeah, I said that's exactly the code this one you just typed where you had to indicate where you had to indicate another variable to match
Yeah.
a plus 3. Well, I did that, and when I printed B, I got 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64. I don't know, it's just giving me the squares of the numbers.
It's giving you the squares of the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? Did you do A raised to power something?
No, I wrote for A in
Okay.
1, 15, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to the next line, and I opened a new bracket, and I wrote B is equal to A plus 1. And I went to the next line, and I wrote B and print B. So I don't know.
You did A plus 1 like this. Wait, this is what you did. Is your code exactly like this?
Apart from the one on line 77 where I close them in brackets, that's B is equal
You
to A
put
plus
it in
1.
brackets.
Yes.
You don't. You put it in curly brackets.
Yeah, number one.
You don't have to put it in brackets. Just use curly brackets and put your expression inside. So when you have, so for, I was trying to create a simple expression for us. So, and I've done that here. So now look at my answers. So I have A from 1 to 15, okay? Now A will take 1, and then A would come here, and A will become 1 here. So B would now be 1 plus 3, which is 4. So it's going to print B, 4. So that's why I have 4 here. Now,
I'm still getting the
it
same
comes
thing.
back. Look at everything here. Just write exactly the way it is here. And check your curly brackets. And check that you put B into bracket and so on. So now it comes back, and it comes back and it takes the second value where A is 2. So it puts 2 into A here. So B would be 2 plus 3. That will be 5. So it prints 5, and so on and so forth. So that's what it does. You can write more complicated expressions if you want. And you can multiply this by 4, and then gives you everything added to 3 multiplied by 4 for each values of B. So that's what the four statement does. So yes, Hubert, you still have the problem. You still have the sorry. Does your code still have the problem?
No, it doesn't. I didn't enclose the B everything in brackets. That's what I
Okay.
so I think it was solving each line of code differently. So I had to merge B is equal to A plus 1 and print B together.
Okay. So
So I
what about
understand it. Thank you.
Sorry, Ma. It was Henry that was asking, not Hubert.
oh Henry?
Yeah, Henry, you were
Why?
just
You don't
answering
want to
my
be the
name.
one asking. Okay. Okay. So yep. So that's about the first statement. And working in source is actually very, very funny, and you have to take note of everything, because working on the console just tells you, okay, you're not done with your statement, go to the next line and complete your statement. But the source never tells you that. It has to be well arranged. And that's why for programming, when you're learning, it's good to use the console, because for the source you have to put it exactly the way it would respond to you. So yeah, that is for the for loop. And then for the while loop, um you can create something. Okay, for the while loop, you are creating a set of commands repeatedly based on the fact that it is still true. So when the condition is still true, you are creating a loop based on the fact that the condition is still true. For loop, you are creating a counter. So you're counting from this, okay, come back, count again, do it, and come back and come back and come back. That is like a loop. But then while is also in a loop format, but it works based on when a condition is still true. That is the way a while loop works. So a while loop uses a statement. It doesn't use a counter as in the for loop. The for loop uses a counter. The while statement doesn't use a counter. So it is while a condition is true, then perform this task. That is the way the while condition while statement works. So I want to quickly show something for the while function. So if let me check the objects in my workspace. So these are all the objects I have in my workspace. Okay, I want to, these are all the objects I have. And then I want to create something. So I want my, I don't want to, I want to create a sample, I want to do a sample script where this script gives me objects, lets me know when there's an object with the same name present. So for example, now, if I have x equals 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, if I have this, and I do another thing and I say x is 4 and 5. Okay, now before I run x is 4 and 5, now let me run x here, 1, 2, 3, right? Now let me run this. Let me run x again. Now it's 4 and 5. So now it has overwritten what I had previously here. And this is a very big error you can make when programming, because it overwrites, when you use the same object name, it overwrites whatever was in the previous one, because they have the same name, the same object name. So let's write a script that lets us know when we have the same object name, and in turn helps us to put a new object name, but maybe adds one, say maybe x1, instead of using the same x again. So now let's write that script. So now let's create, let's look at here. We have capital letter A, okay? And we want to create another object, but we want to be sure that we are not overwriting what we have in A already. So we want you to tell us that, okay, we already have something in A. So now use A1, do not use A, because we already have something in A. And if you create something with A, you're going to overwrite what is already in A. Please, one second, please. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so yeah, so let me come back to a minute, please. Okay, sorry, I need to plug my system to the power source. Okay. Yes. So now I want to create. So what I'm going to do is I have A here already, and I don't want to overwrite what is in. Okay. So I'm going to create a while function that does not. Sure, I'm not on mute. That does not overwrite what I already have in A. So I'm going to assign this to a function. Assign A to a particular object. So let me say object equal to so I want to create something with A. So let's just assume that we don't know that we already have A here. I just want to be sure that I am not overwriting anything. So I want to create my object to be A. So my proposed object is A, but I want to be sure that I'm not overwriting anything. So I'm going to do a while function. So this while function is going to check. So while I'm going to explain the code. So while exists, let me create an object named n list objects. Counter counter I. Don't have any separator. Just put separator. Then now this is a lot of code, but it will help us understand the use of while function very well. So now let me create in the while function when you want to use a counter, you have to assign a value to it, say a null value. So I want to assign null value to j, so I'll be able to make it null value. Okay. So I want to use a counter in my while statement. So I have to assign a null value to j. J is my counter, or it's actually I put I here, so it's j. Okay. So the object and what's the object I'm trying to find? I'm trying to find that I don't have object A present in my workspace. I don't want it to overwrite what I already have in my workspace. So I don't want to overwrite what I already have in my workspace. Okay. So now I would say, well, now exists function. What the exist function does is that it checks if this object exists or not. So now I'm telling this code that if this exists, if this object exists, then what you should do is this. Now inside this exists function, I'm taking this object A and I'm telling it that if object A exists, combine A with J equals 1. So combine A with J equals 1 if A exists. So that's what I'm telling this to do. So paste, like I told you, what's the paste function used for? The paste is for combining two things together, and then you're separating it with a value. So there's nothing here, so I'm not separating it to anything here. But I'm combining, my system is about to die, and I need somebody to plug in lights. Coming. I'm sorry. I need someone to. Time is quite low. Sorry, I need someone to put on the data. Okay, it's on. All right, let's continue. So my system is not there. Okay, so let me come back to what I was saying. Okay, so like I said, if A exists, I am saying that it should combine my object A with J. J is the counter here, and I will explain what J does. So it's going to combine my object A with J and separate it with nothing. So meaning that if A exists, I'll be having A and 1 because I said J equals to 1 here. So I'll be having A and 1. And if A and 1 exists, I'll be having A and 2 because I'm saying to add 1 to J. So that is about what this paste function does. And it's assigning this function to n. So that means if it's A1, A1 will now be assigned to n. So that's just what this means. And then coming to this next statement is saying that else, if else, print this. So this J, like I said, this J that is 1 here is what comes here and makes it A1. Or if there's already A1 here, we have A2. So if and J is null already, okay? So J is null, so it's going to add 1 or it's going to add 2 to this object. Let me print this first and then come back and explain again. So if I run this and I check what n is, you see that n is A1. So it's going to add 1 to A. So n is A1. And if I, so now I know that, okay, A exists, and then the object I have to use is A1. I cannot use A. Now, if I assign something to A1, so let me use, so you can use the assign statement to assign something to a function, to an object. So let me assign maybe this vector, C1, 2. Let me just assign it to n directly. Okay, so what's n now? N is A1. Let me check what A1 is now. So A1 is 1, 2. So it created the object A1, but because A1 doesn't have anything in it yet, I have to assign something to it. So I have to assign it to n, then it created the object A1. So now I have object A1. If I check ls, I would have object A1 here. Now that I have object A1, if I run this code again, and I check what n is now, n will be A2. So it is going to create new objects and add 1 to each of the new objects. So it is not going to, so it's going to let me know that, okay, I already have A1. So now you cannot use A1, use A2. So that is what this code is doing. And if I come back to explain this, it is this exist statement is checking if A exists. And if A exists, add 1 to A. So A becomes A1, and this value is now assigned to n. So I can easily run this code and check what n is, and then tells me, okay, use A2 or use A3 or use A1 based on whatever is present in my working directory. Please, I know there's questions, but let me know which line you don't understand. I think that will help me better. So yes, I'm listening. Or which function you don't understand. So that will help me better to explain.
Line 88 and
Yeah,
91.
Line 88 and line 91.
please, can you just summarize from like 88 down? Thank you.
Okay. Everything. I thought you gave me one line. You gave me the whole code. Okay. All
No,
right.
I don't know.
So
I think it's Ivy that asked for 88 and 91, but if you cool, if you summarize everything.
there's everything. So I need an object J, okay, in my code. So when you need to use an object in your code, you have to assign something to it. If you write Python, you would know that you have to assign 0 to any object you want to use as a counter. But then here, for the while statement, we are going to assign null to our J object so that we would create it. If you do not assign null to this, so let me change this to a comment. And let me run this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove J because J has been, please let me quickly check who is calling. It might be a very important person. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I actually thought it was very important call. Okay, so let me remove J. Let me remove J. Now let me run this. It's going to give me error because object J is not found. So I think we are clear with why I'm doing this in line 88. First of all, so we are past that. So we are past why we are creating J in line 88. Now, I want to, okay, so I just came into R and I want to create an object A. Okay.
Sorry, quick one.
Huh? I'm listening.
Why must it be null? Why can't we assign a value to it?
We don't want to assign a value to it because we are going to assign a value to it in the statement.
Okay.
Yes, we want to assign a value to it in the statement. Okay, so that's why we are not assigning anything to it. We want it to be empty because we are coming here to assign a value to it. So that's why I assign null to it. So it does not have anything in it because I'm going to come here to assign a value to it. Now, I came into R and I want to create an object named A. So instead of just jumping out, just where I jumped here and created X and overwrote everything I have done so far, you could have something more crucial than that in your object, and then you just overwrite everything. But I don't want to just come here and overwrite everything. So I want to check that A is not present before I assign a value to A. So what do? I name an object this A. So this is, I'm trying to check for object A and I name it this. Okay. So I'm now saying that if A exists, that's what the exist function does. While A exists, since I have A, like while I still have A in my workspace, I want you to help me to check that it exists. Okay. And then when you check that it exists, if it actually exists, while it still exists, while A exists, I want you to put A and add J to it, but do not put any separation. So if I put a separation of comma, then I'll be having A comma 1, but I don't want that. So I don't want any separation, but I want you to put A and add J value. So I'm going to come here to explain the J values. So I've taught us this space function. If you remember, I taught you this space function. I said space helps you combine the first value and the second value based on the separator. But we don't have any separator here. So it's going to combine object A and J together while I have A in my working directory. If I do not have A, that would be different. But then, if I do not have A, of course, it wouldn't create another one. But because I have A, it's going to create another one. So if I do not have A here, it would not create another one. But because I have A, it's going to create another one. So now, while A exists, create A combined with J with no separation. That's what this means. And A that you've created combined with J with no separation, assign it to N. So I want it to be called N. That A that you've created, whether A1 or A2, based on whatever is present in my working directory. Assign it to N. So that is what this statement does. Okay. Now, I hope this is understandable. So now moving to the next statement. Now, if J is null, if J is null, and we all know that J is null. Put J equals 1. So now J will be 1 here. So now I'll have A1. Else put J equals J plus 1, which is J equals 2. So if there's already J equals 1, say maybe if you already have A1, that's what it's trying to say. If you already have A1, now that 1 that was here before, just add it here and make it 2. So now if we already have A1, then we'll have A2 then. If we already have yes, A1, then that means we're going to have A2. So that's what this means. That's what this statement means. Any question? Or tell me the line you don't understand first before I move to this place. Which line don't you understand? Or which statement don't you understand? Let me mention names. I'm not sure who called me that time. Was it Henry or Hubert? Is it who called me that time? Who said I should explain 88 to 91?
That was Ubek.
Why is he not saying anything? Hubert.
I've not asked anything about codes yet. It wasn't Hubert. I think it was Henry.
Henry. So Henry, do you
Mm.
understand now?
That well, those well statements are still very complicated for me, but I feel with
Because
time
you're
I'll
not taking it
understand.
one after the other. You want to understand everything at a go. Start from inside.
I'm not trying to understand everything at once. Like from that, I'm seeing you assigning null to J, and I'm seeing another object A, and with time I'll understand it. But
Okay,
for now,
okay,
my
you know
head
what?
is
Who understands? If you understand, let me know. Just tell me that you understand. So that I would know that it's everybody that doesn't understand this thing and I have to explain to everybody again. If you understand, just let me know. If you can, because to be good if someone else can explain. Probably the way I'm explaining is not clear enough. Daniel, do you understand?
To some extent, I'm still trying to be sure I understand. Or maybe I should try explaining, and maybe if anywhere I'm wrong, you can cut me.
Okay. Okay, so I'm coming back to my screen. So explain it to everyone. Explain this um statements to everyone. Start from inside out.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I start from inside out.
Start from J equals null. Start from this
Okay,
statement.
yes, of course. Okay, so we want to create the aim of doing this is that we want to create an object to mean that if the object has already been assigned already, we want to know if the object has been assigned already to to a variable or to a vector or something. So if the object has been assigned already to a variable, we would know and we can assign it to take something another argument, another variable instead of the first one we've assigned it before. Okay, so having that in mind, we have J. We want to use J as our counter. Okay, let's start with the object first. We have our object, which is my object. We've assigned A, which is my object. So now, since A has been assigned to my object, if we assign another variable to my object, it will overwrite the A that is there before and to create an entire new object with another new variable to forget that A has been there before. But now I want to set this statement that okay, if you're creating another my object, you're putting another variable inside it, tell us that okay, there's something there before. So from there, we're going to be using a counter in the while statement. That's how we created null. So J is assigned to nothing is inside J. J is just a blank object. So now using that J as a blank object. Now while when I came to our while statement, exists means that if it's because for you to use a while statement just uses true or false. So exist is actually a true or false statement. So what it means is that um, while n exists, okay,
Yes,
space
while n exists. Yes,
yes,
while
while
n
n
exists.
exists, which
N
are
exists.
n
And what is n?
which are n is are my objects and then j combined together. I know our paint statement actually means give me the first argument, give me the first data, give me second object, first object, second object, and then I'm joining together and I'm separating by what variable, separating by what. That separator here is nothing. So it's just going to combine my object and J together. So for N now, the first N that we have here already now, N is going to be A and null. So N is virtually A. So why N exists, we already set our N as A already. So now why N exists if J is null. Have you?
Are you also confused?
I,
I think
I'm trying
I
to.
think
I'm trying. Is
that for
anybody
that code for that code 91. I think
okay?
I just got something there.
Okay.
I didn't take cognizance of that paste XY. That's X up by object and J are separated by it's being separated by nothing at all. So I think I understand the
So you
code from
understand?
91
Okay. Since you understand
or
that,
91.
let's move to 92. That's what I wanted to make sure everybody understood. So I hope we understand code 91 now, at least to some extent.
Okay.
Okay. So now 92 is now saying if um if else J is null, like if J is null, then give us J, then J will be equals to 1. But then if J is not null, then give us J plus 1. If J is null, give us J is equals to 1. If J is not null, give us J plus 1. Sams is saying that our, our object, our n variable already, if it exists before, if it does not exist before, just give us the first statement. But if it exists already, that if it's true, if it exists already, and J is null, give us n and give us object A, which is object A already, then give us J. So J will now become J, it's become A1 because we already have N before, which was just ordinary A and J as null. But now, since N already exists as true, then you will now give us the object A, which is my object, and then since you have already checked through the statement, J is not null in this instance, so it now give us J plus 1. Hope you get that line.
Okay.
I
I think
perfectly
you
understand.
explained
I don't
better than
understand
I
it properly.
explained.
Now I understand it.
You
I understand
explained
it
better than I
perfectly now.
explained. You explained better than I explained. So J has always been null, right? And then now for N here, currently J is null, okay? So for N here, we have just A combined with nothing. So A combined with nothing, does it exist? A combined with nothing is A, right? Does it exist? Oh, yes, it exists. Okay, then since A combined with nothing exists, then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do the next thing, which is you add 1. So now you're going to have A1. But now if you already have A1, that is you already have A combined with J being 1, then do the last statement, which is J plus 1. For this, I think he explained better, and then I don't know how else to explain if he explained better than me. So maybe if Daniel can explain again to us next week, maybe when our heads are clear, because we already passed we spent so
Sorry,
much
I
time.
want to quickly ask. Sorry, just like the last question. Sorry. So we
Okay.
said if J is null, give me J equals to 1. But if J is already equals to 1, give me J equals to J plus 1.
Mm.
Is that it? What if J initially is not null and it is not 1?
So J initially is null. Okay.
So I'm
Okay, are
saying,
you
what
saying that?
what if my object
Mm,
is A2 or something?
A1. Okay, let's try that. So I'm
A2,
going
not A1.
to
If it is not 1,
I want to remove A1.
let's have A2 instead.
So okay, you're saying that if what?
If now we're saying if J is null, give me J equals
Mm.
to 1. But if J is already equals to 1, give me J plus 1. So what if J initially is not null and it is not 1? What if our J is equals to 2 already?
Okay, I'm saying what if J equals 2 already? That means you are trying to say that you already have A2.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you want to create an object A2 here to show that we already have A2, Abi?
Yeah,
Then you
something
now
like
want to see what happens. So let's create A2. Let's create an object A2. C of 3, comma 4. So this is an object A2 that I just created.
okay,
So I
so
just
the
created
J
an
will have
object
to
A2.
be with that.
So now J is 2, okay, Abi? So you are saying that so
Wait,
I want to check.
if already, sorry, quick one. If you already have A2, J will have to become 2, not null. Is that it?
Yes, that means J will be 2. Because you are
Like
trying to check A2 is
line
present.
8, I'm talking about line 88.
Line 88. Yes,
Why
J
did
will now
it
be
have
2.
to be null?
You're asking me why it has to be null?
Why it is not null? Why it is not null?
It is not null because it's A2 you are trying to check for. You want to check for A2, right?
Okay then. Okay then.
Yeah, you want to check for A2,
I
not
think I
A anymore,
understand. Okay, so
right?
now the line 92 will change to if else is dot 2J. Is that what it will become?
So this one would be, so let me see. We're going to make it, so J will be, so it is not null, right? So we're going to do just J plus 1.
Okay.
I'm trying to, so I want you to give me J3, A3 now, but it's not null. If it's null, give me this. Oh, yeah, okay, it's still the same thing. If it's null, give me this. If it's not null, add 1 to it. Okay, yes, it's still the same thing. And let me run this. Okay, so let me see what n is. A3. Do you understand now?
But
Yes, yes.
what you just wrote is
So
that
just
Same
for
thing.
so
the
just when you said
eh,
J is always null, that's
I'm,
just what I
No,
wanted
no,
to
no. I
confirm.
say you
That
have to
J,
assign something to J. You have to create J. I didn't say J is always null. I said you have to create J, and I'm creating J as an empty object. In Python or other languages, you make when you're doing counters, you make them 0. But here, okay, in this while statement, okay, we're going to make it null because we are trying to check for A without anything. A doesn't have anything, okay? We are not doing counters here. We are not counting anything here. We're not doing counting anything. We're not counting anything here. We are just checking that we don't have anything, anything. We want A and nothing. So that's why we made J null. So it's an empty object. You're creating an empty object. You're not creating a counter. I was just trying to explain that counters are different from what I'm doing here. I'm not doing counting. I'm creating an empty object J. Okay, and I'm saying that when I have just A without anything attached to it. And I'm now saying that if J is null, do this. So do J is 1. So that means we have A1. But since J is not null, so we're going to do J equals J plus 1. So whatever is in J, 1 will be added to it. Do you understand now?
well, we're
but
doing
J
this
is
on
not
the basis
but J is
that
not null.
what
J is not null, yes.
initially.
That's why it's adding 1 to J. That's why I have A3. This is the
So
first
what I'm
condition.
saying
This
is
is the second
doing,
condition.
we're doing this on the basis that we know the value for J.
Yes, on the basis that you want to create an object A2. Because you said you already have A2, Abi, it's an object A2 you want to create, and you want to be sure that A2 is not present, right?
Something like that. But yeah,
Exactly. You
something
want
like
to create an object A2 and you don't want to override it. You don't want to override the object A2 that you have already. Okay, and you want to use you want to count it, you want to use counting. You can check for other types of things. This is just we're just trying to check based on when you want to do like A1, A2, A3, and so on and so forth. So you are trying to check that object A2 is not present. So we can use the 2 in front of A as the counter. So we are going to add 1 to J to know that, okay, we are not using this. But assuming this there was nothing in J, assuming J was empty, it will just add 1 and then we'll have A1. But since J is not empty, it has to add 1 to it so that it will increase.
now.
It will use
Now
A2
I
again.
have if we already have A1 as an object, and then we still put as null on 989. If we run everything, it's going to override it. Yeah, override
If you already have what? Come again.
A1. A1.
If you have A1, you want to check if you want to, okay, you already have A1 and you don't want to
Now,
override
if
A1.
if if you already have A1, and
Mm.
then you still put your line 89 as J equals null, and you run it, and you run 89 to 94 like that, is it going to override the initial A1?
I prefer to just do
I
it.
think it should still override. I mean, so we are saying if you have A1 and you want to put another object into A1, I think it will still override. But the base of creating this counter, this statement is that you first check the statement
That's
to see,
the
okay,
difference
if you
there.
still have that variable. Abi, hope I'm not wrong. So you
If
might
you
still have
have
to check
A,
A and N first. That okay, what variable do I have next that I'm supposed to use?
okay.
Abi?
Just to confirm, you are meant to constantly change J according to the object that we already have.
So this script is just a sample, okay? It's not necessary. You don't necessarily have to use it for anything. I'm just trying to explain while statements and if else statements in one. So this is just giving an example based on when you want to use counting for variables.
Okay, I'm
We already
sorry.
have a variable.
Just hold on.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, for line 93, can we use an if else statement? Can we use if we write our argument, then we'll go to the next line and write else? Do you think it's going to work that way, or just putting if else in a particular line?
Like the way you did here, right?
Exactly on line 65.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's going to be on the same thing, on the same line.
I think because it has different
Exactly.
conditions.
You said
So is it going to
Because we
run that
have
way?
different conditions, I think that's why we have to use
because we
else.
have, come again.
I think it's because we have two conditions attached to it.
This is the first. You're supposed to have a condition and another condition. If this,
Yeah,
then this, else this.
let's leave it there.
What are you saying?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I thought you wanted me to do this because of a reason. Hubert, or what? There was a reason you asked me to do this, right? Was it? I don't know if it's Hubert or Henry.
It's me,
Someone asked
Henry,
me to
Henry,
do
Henry,
this.
not
Okay, someone
not
asked me
Okay.
to
Hubert.
do this. What do you want to
Yeah,
test for? You want me to do something?
I want to know if it's going to actually run the same
Yeah,
way
it will run. It's the
you.
same thing. If else statement and then if and else is the same thing. It's going to do the same thing.
Okay. Thank you. I understand now.
Ade Toro, what do you want to know?
I don't have any question.
Hmm? You said
I don't have any question.
okay. You know what? If we keep trying different things here, we might never leave here today. This particular script, take it and go and try different things on it and see what you get and come back and tell me next week. But then you keep telling me remove A, add B. I'm about to put 1 here. Okay, what about we put 2 here? We might never leave here today. So I think the best thing to do is to take this script, go and actually put 1, put 2, put 10, put 15, remove this, change this, and then see what it gives you. And then come and tell me, okay, I did this and I got this error. I think that's the best thing. Because if we keep trying it here, we will not leave here today. So basically, we're not able to do our lab work. But our lab work is everything we've done today, honestly. Everything we've done today is what is in our lab work. There's nothing completely new, apart from the fact that, of course, I think I remember teaching us that you can add names to your, I'm just picking out what is in the lab that I didn't do. So if you have numbers, say numbers, sorry, if you had, say, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I wanted to add names to them. I told you can do names, numbers. I remember I said that. Names, numbers. One, two, three, 4, and 5. So you can also use this to add names to your vector. And then if you run numbers, you have this. So you can also use this to add names to your vectors. I'm trying to show us things that are in our manual that we didn't touch. Then I remember I taught you this. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. I want this to be together. So I'm going to bring this out. Bring this back up. This thing I did is in your textbook, the assign the while statement. So you can go and check it in your textbook. Then I remember I taught us SEQ. You want to create a sequence of values. I will read this by 12:30. So I want to create a sequence of values, say 40 to 50, 54, and then I want it to skip by 2. Remember I explained this. So it's create a sequence of values and skip them by 2. So that's about the ones that are not available. And you could also create a vector of negative integers. It doesn't have to always be positive integers. You can create a vector of negative integers if you want. You can also do a reverse vector. It gives you vector in the reverse format. You can create a matrix of ones. You just indicate the row and column, row number, and how many rows you want and how many columns. So this is the matrix you want to create, the number of rows and the number of columns, and it does this for you. And then if you already have a matrix, say you already had this matrix 1 to 20, and you want to create a matrix with x and 4 rows, 5 columns, it does this for you, and it will read it row wise. So yes, it will read it row wise. But if I wanted it to read it column wise rather, it reads it column wise. So if I wanted it to read it row wise, I would do matrix x 4 5, then by row equal to true. So it will read it row wise now. So that's another way to input your vector into your matrix. Let me see. Let me show that one. Okay. Yes. So that's for creating matrices. Let me see. If there's any other thing that have not explained.
Sure,
Number
can
nine.
can I ask a question regarding
Okay.
that well
Yes,
detailed
please.
statement? Yeah, I tried running it on my source, and I wasn't able to get the values of my objects that was already in the system. So it's still giving that plus sign to tell me that my code is not.
Which
There's
one?
something missing in my code.
What did you run?
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, what did you run? You said you ran what? I heard everything you said, but what
Uh,
did you
yeah, I said I ran the J null my objects while if else statements, and I wanted to find out if I already have my objects already in my workspace, and unfortunately, I'm still getting that plus sign to tell me that my
you
statement
ran
is probably
this?
not complete. Yeah, I ran that, and I want the one on line. I put the one on line 98 now.
98. This N.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I wanted to get find out if I already have the value of n.
You ran
Can
N.
you go up? Can you exactly? So it's telling me that it's A3 that we're going to use. So I don't know. I'm not getting it on my own end here. It's
S
still showing me the plus sign.
plus sign. After running this one or after running N.
Yeah, I did run that one and I didn't get an error.
You ran this, you didn't get an error. Then you ran only N. It showed you plus sign.
Yes, I did.
Only N. Are you sure you ran only N? Or you added something to it?
No, I did not. I just ran. I used P in my own case.
Okay,
So
so I would see your screen after this. I'll see your screen after this.
okay,
You share your
can
screen
I
with me,
can I
yes.
I'm using my phone. I'm using my phone. Can I screenshots? Can I take a photo of this and put it on chat?
On chat.
Yeah, can I take a
I'm not
photo
on
and
your
put it on the chat?
what chat?
Yeah, like the
Okay, okay,
message
this
box.
chat here. Okay, yes, you can go ahead.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So that's about creating matrices, and then you can subset your matrix. And I've taught us that you can say you want matrix 1, 3, 1 to 3. That's I'm saying row 1 to 3, and I want column 2 to 4. So row 1 to 3, column 2 to 5. Okay. 1 to 3.
You're not calling us. Calling us.
Okay, you've put it on the group. Matrix. Okay, matrix X. X. I'm subsetting X. My matrix is what? Okay, I didn't assign my matrix to anything. Oh, okay. So my matrix is, let me use matrix 1. I'm coming, I'll check it now. So this is matrix 1. Let me run matrix 1. So this is matrix 1. And then I want to subset matrix 1. I want row 1 to 3 and column 2 to 5. So here. So row 1 to 3. 1, 2, 3. This is 1 to 3. And column 2 to 5. So this is column 2 to 5 and 1 to 3. So it's going to give me here. So that is what I have here. So that's about subsetting matrices. And I think that is all basically.
Sorry, ma, have you seen what I put on the group chat, man?
Okay. Where's chat? Chat. Okay. While exists P is assigned to paste my object J separate by this. Okay, you didn't put your curly bracket. There's no curly
And
bracket.
inverted
There's no curly bracket. So there should be a curly
It's just
bracket
only back.
here and after at the end. So here and at the end, either here or here, whichever way. Okay, there's a curly bracket here. I'm seeing a curly bracket here. And I'm
Yes, there is.
okay, and I'm seeing if else is null J, J to one, J to J plus one. So you ran this and it worked. Then it was telling you P. What is P? Oh, it's giving you an additional sign. Oh, you didn't
Exactly.
close with a curly bracket.
I did. I
there
did
is
that.
Okay, so source, I think the source is very sensitive. Let me come here and do something.
inverted commas for the A, the quote for A.
Okay, okay, for A. Um,
Yeah. That's,
okay.
I assigned that to my object.
Mm. I used inverted comma here for the A. So maybe that is the problem. Could that be the problem? Try using inverted comma on your A. Let's see what happens.
Oh, oh.
Still work. Try using inverted comma on your A. Let's see if it changes anything. Because I think that's the only thing that is different. That's the only thing that's different. Um, and try completing this curly bracket on the next line to end your statement. Okay, so let me see something. Oh, you didn't show a sign that. Okay, try using curly bracket on the A and let me see what happens. Then let me know. Then I'll give another suggestion. So I think that is all. That's all for today's class. We spent so much time, and we spent a lot of time basically. So
Yeah, the same.
you can. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You try using your curly bracket this way. Use your curly bracket this way. Open it here and close it directly under the while statement. Close it
Okay.
directly under the while statement. So that it shows, I think it has to show that it's been closed, that the while statement has been closed. So close it directly here. Let's see what happens. So that's that about today's class. You can go through your textbook to check for other to work more and check to see that you understand all what we've done today. So basically, that's it. Go back to your textbooks. Try to understand what's in your textbook. You can go over this particular command that gave a lot of people headache today. You can go over it again. So that'll be all for today. We spent so much time. It's 12:47. Thank you for your time. Thank you for waiting, for not running away. And I will tell Emmanuel to share this too with everyone. So any question?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Alpha. Um, Kubat. Hey God, Kubat, Henry, God. I'm always, I'm really very confused. I don't know. People have like the same voice.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any
So
question?
thank
Thank
you,
you
man.
very much.
It actually worked.
works now. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not
I
very.
have to. I
You
don't
have
know.
to.
It's too sensitive. Like we have to
Yeah.
open the brackets after the while statements before and close
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
after the.
Unless you, but
Yeah, I think.
if you did that in the console, it would have shown you that um it will still show you that you are not done. Yes, basically. So the console is more flexible than the source. So the source just wants to code exactly as it is. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank
I
you.
would I'll get back on that Daniel. I'll definitely get back on the adding a new line thing to see if there's actually something to do about that. Then there was this other question that somebody asked. I'm going to also do that. So thank you everyone. Go to your manuals and your textbooks for better understanding of this class. Thank you for your time. Thank you for waiting. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, Mama.